Before you can have, you must become. That's one of the most powerful truths I've ever learned. And it's one that often gets overlooked in the rush to chase success. People want to have things, wealth, health, love, influence, but they forget that the process starts by becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts and holds on to those things. And the bridge between wanting and becoming is simple, yet deeply profound. Act as if you already have what you want. Now, I'm not talking about pretending or putting on a mask. I'm talking about aligning your thoughts, your habits, and your behavior with the identity of the person who already lives in the results you desire. Because the truth is, everything we achieve flows from who we are, and who we are is shaped by what we do consistently. Think about it. You can't wait to be confident to start taking action. You have to take action to build confidence. You don't wait to feel like a leader before you speak up and take initiative. You speak up first, take responsibility first, and then the leadership feeling begins to rise inside you. That's how it works. Action leads, emotion follows, behavior shapes identity, and identity precedes results. Let's say you want to become financially independent. That's a worthy goal. But what does someone who is financially independent do every day? They budget, they invest, they make smart decisions, they value their time and resources, they live with intention. So even if your bank account doesn't reflect financial independence right now, your choices, you can show up every day and ask yourself, what would someone with financial independence do in this situation? Then do that. That's how you move toward your goal. Not by hoping, but by behaving. This idea isn't just motivational fluff. It's backed by the way the human mind works. The brain can't tell much difference between something vividly imagined and something real. So when you act as if when you walk, talk, and think like the future version of yourself, you begin rewiring your brain to accept that new identity. And the more your mind accepts it, the more your choices start lining up with it. Over time, this shifts the results you get, because your inner game is now aligned with your outer actions. It's like planting seeds. You wouldn't plant tomato seeds and expect to get corn. No, you plant tomato seeds, and you water them, you protect them, and eventually, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you see fruit. Acting as if is planting seed. Every decision you make, every disciplined action you take, every moment you stretch into that future version of yourself, you're watering the seeds of your success. And yes, it will feel awkward at first. It will feel strange to behave like a confident speaker if you're It will feel out of place to manage money like an investor if you're used to scraping by. But that discomfort is part of the growth. It's proof that you're stretching beyond your current circumstances. Don't run from that feeling. Lean into it. That's the feeling of transformation and progress. Now here's what's amazing. When you do this long enough, it stops being an act. It becomes who you are. It stops being I'm trying to be this person and starts being this is just what I do now. And when that happens, you don't have to force results anymore. They start coming to you because now you're operating from the level where those results naturally exist. So remember this, success isn't something you wait for. It's something you prepare for. You don't get ready for opportunity when it arrives. You live in such a way that when opportunity shows up, it recognizes you. You meet it like an old friend because you've already been practicing for the moment. That's the power of acting as if. It's not fake. It's not forced. It's becoming. It's transforming from the inside out. If you want to change your life, start by changing your behavior. Don't wait. Don't hope. Don't wish. Decide who you want to be and start showing up as that person today. The rest will catch up. When you carry yourself like someone who has already achieved the goal, something remarkable begins to happen. Your behavior starts to influence your belief. It's a reversal of the way most people think about change. They believe that they have to feel confident before they take bold action, or that they have to truly believe in themselves before they can step into a bigger role. But the truth is, belief often follows behavior. You begin to believe in yourself, not by thinking about it, but by acting in ways that prove it to yourself. Let's look at this from a practical point of view. Say you want to become a successful entrepreneur, but you don't fully believe you have what it takes. If you wait until you feel ready or until you believe you're capable, you may be waiting forever. But if you begin acting like a successful entrepreneur, getting up early, managing your time like it's valuable, seeking out mentors, developing your product or service, studying your market, then something powerful begins to shift inside. Each action you take reinforces a new message. I'm serious about this. I'm capable. I'm doing the work. And over time, your belief catches up to your behavior. You can apply this principle to anything: fitness, leadership, public speaking, relationship. Most people want proof before they believe. They want the results first, but life doesn't work that way. Action is the proof you give yourself. When you behave in alignment with your goals, your subconscious begins to recalibrate. It starts seeing you as someone who is consistent, disciplined, and capable. That shift in identity creates a feedback loop where belief and behavior build on each other. The more you act with purpose, the more you believe in your purpose. The more you act with courage, the more you believe you are courageous. This is why acting as if is so powerful. It bypasses the trap of waiting for motivation or confidence. Most people never get started because they don't feel like they're enough yet. But confidence is not a prerequisite. It's a result. You don't have to wait until you feel bold. Just take bold actions. And soon you'll start believing that you are bold. When your body moves, your mind follows. That's the secret. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine someone who is afraid of public speaking. They think, I'm not good at this. I'm nervous. I'm going to mess up. That belief keeps them from stepping up. But if they start acting like a confident speaker, standing tall, preparing thoroughly, speaking clearly even if their voice shakes, then with each speech, something changes. They start seeing themselves in a new light. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I am getting better. Their actions start reshaping their identity. Over time, they don't just act like a confident speaker. They become one. Behavior also affects how others see you. When you act like someone who believes in their vision, people respond differently. They sense you're certain. They notice your effort. They start to believe in you too. That social feedback reinforces your internal belief even further. It becomes a cycle of growth. What starts as a decision to behave differently becomes a transformation in how you see yourself and how others see you. But it requires intention. It's not about pretending or putting on a show. It's about choosing behaviors that align with your future self. It's about asking yourself each day, if I already had what I wanted, how would I behave today? Then doing that, even in small ways. Those small acts of alignment add up. They send a powerful message to your mind. This is who I am now. And eventually your mind believes you. The beauty of this approach is that it puts the power back in your hands. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't need perfect circumstances. You just need to decide who you want to be and start behaving like that person today. The belief will follow. And when belief and behavior align, there's no limit to what you can achieve. You stop being a person who wants change and start being a person who creates it. And that, in the end, makes all the difference. Acting as if is often misunderstood as a kind of fantasy thinking, like simply wishing or imagining success will magically bring it about. But the truth is, when you act as if you already have what you want, you're not living in denial. You're living with intention. The law of attraction, which is often associated with visualization and mindset, doesn't work just because you think positively. It works through action. Real, deliberate, consistent action that's aligned with your desired outcome. You don't attract success just by dreaming about it. You attract it by behaving in ways that make success inevitable. Let's break that down. Suppose you want to become a respected expert in your field. You can picture it all day long. You see yourself giving talks, writing books, consulting with clients. But unless you start doing the things an expert does, nothing changes. Acting as if in this case means you begin researching, studying, writing, teaching, and sharing your knowledge even before anyone recognizes you as an expert. You do the work without needing the title. You take the action before the applause. That's how you start to attract opportunities, because you're preparing yourself to meet them. People sometimes get discouraged because they feel like they're doing the work but not seeing immediate results. They say, I'm acting as if, but nothing's happening. But what they don't realize is that the changes are already underway, even if they aren't visible yet. When you act as if, you are reprogramming your habits, your routines, your focus, your discipline. And that's the soil where real growth begins. The outer results always lag behind the inner transformation. You don't get in shape the day you start working out. You don't build wealth the day you open a savings account. But those actions begin the process. And that process becomes unstoppable when you commit to it consistently. This is where many people go wrong. They confuse acting as if with faking it. They think it's about pretending to be something they're not, but that's not the point at all. Acting as if is about embodying the values, disciplines, and behaviors of your future self before the circumstances reflect it. It's not fake, it's formative. It's not about creating a facade, it's about constructing a foundation. When you act in alignment with your vision, you're laying the groundwork for that vision to become reality. Think about a musician learning to play at a high level. Before they ever take the stage in front of thousands, they practice in private for hours, days, and years. They act as if they're performing for an audience, even when no one is watching. They rehearse like they belong in the spotlight long before the spotlight ever shines on them. That's what prepares them for the moment when the spotlight does appear. And when it does, they're not surprised. They're ready. They've been living in that readiness for a long time. This principle works the same way in every area of life. If you want to lead a team, start leading yourself first. Take ownership of your time. Communicate clearly. Make decisions with courage and care. If you want to be in a great relationship, act as if you already value yourself. Take care of your well-being and know how to give and receive love. Don't wait for someone else to complete you. Be the complete person first. That's when you attract people who match your energy and standard. And when you act as if, your environment starts to shift. People begin to notice. Doors begin to open. You don't have to chase success. It starts to find you. Because your actions are signaling that you're serious, that you're already living at the level where that success belongs. You become a magnet not because of your wishes, but because of your alignment. You start saying no to things that don't fit the life you're building. You start saying yes to challenges that grow you. That's what creates momentum. That's what turns effort into outcome. So understand this. The law of attraction is activated by the law of action. Your thoughts may inspire you, but your actions define you. If you want to live a life that feels extraordinary, you must start behaving in ways that reflect your vision, even before that vision fully shows up. That's not pretending, it's preparing. That's not delusion, it's direction. And when you keep walking in that direction, step by step, day by day, the life you're acting for becomes the life you're actually living. Confidence doesn't appear out of thin air. It's not something you're born with in full form, and it's not reserved for a select few. Confidence is built, crafted piece by piece through consistent action, especially when that action pushes you outside of your comfort zone. The more you act like a confident person, even when you don't feel like one, the more that confidence begins to take root. It's not fake, it's practice. And over time, that practice turns into identity. People often think that confident individuals simply have something they don't. They assume it's some internal switch that just flipped on one day. But if you look closely, you'll see that confidence is usually the byproduct of repeated behavior. It's the result of doing things scared, doing things unsure, doing things without knowing the outcome, and then realizing you survived. You learned, you grew, and suddenly what once felt intimidating becomes a little more familiar. That's how confidence grows, from repetition and resilience. Take someone who's afraid of speaking in public. They might say, I'm just not a confident speaker, and that belief keeps them stuck. But what if they began to act like a confident speaker even before they felt like one? What if they stood up straight, looked their audience in the eye, practiced their message until they could deliver it smoothly, even if their hands were shaking? That's not pretending, that's building. And with each attempt, they get a little stronger. Each time they stand up, they're reinforcing a new internal message. I can do this. Over time, that message becomes louder than the old fear. Confidence through role-playing isn't about being inauthentic. It's about drawing your future self into the present. You imagine how the confident version of you would behave, how they would speak, how they would carry themselves, how they would make decisions, and then you start doing those things. Not later, but now. The more often you repeat those behaviors, the more your brain adapts. It stops resist. It starts accepting. This is who I am. You can apply this to any area of life. Want to be a confident leader? Start acting like one. Make decisions. Take responsibility. Speak up when it matters. Want to be confident in your body? Start treating it like it's already strong. Move it. Feed it well. Rest it with care. Want to be confident in your career? Show up like someone who takes their work seriously, who solves problems, who brings value, regardless of your job title. When you behave with confidence, even if you don't feel it yet, you're giving your brain evidence to support that identity. And confidence, more than anything, is built on evidence. The challenge is that in the beginning, it feels like you're lying to yourself. You're simply overriding an outdated script. Maybe someone told you you weren't good enough, or smart enough, or talented enough. Maybe you told yourself that. Those thoughts might have written the first few chapters of your story, but they don't have to write the rest. Role-playing gives you the pen back. It allows you to write a new identity, one behavior at a time. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to. Confidence doesn't come from staying safe. It comes from stepping into risk and realizing that you can handle it, even if you stumble, even if it's messy. The fact that you showed up, that you tried, is what begins to rewrite your internal narrative. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids and start seeing yourself as someone who acts. That shift is everything. What's powerful about this process is that it doesn't rely on anyone else. You don't need external validation to begin. You don't need a trophy or applause. You just need the willingness to show up for yourself over and over again, to do the hard thing, to stretch, to learn. And with each repetition, that temporary role you're playing becomes permanent. You stop acting and start being. Confidence isn't found, it's forged. You build it by walking through the fire of your own fear and coming out the other side with a lesson. You build it by showing up when it's uncomfortable, by speaking when your voice trembles, by standing tall even when you're unsure. That's how you become the person you've been pretending to be. Not through illusion, but through intention, through repetition, through courage. And when you do that long enough, confidence isn't something you put on anymore. It's something you carry with you because it's become a part of who you are. One of the most transformative things you can do in life is take responsibility for your future before it even arrives. It means choosing to become intentional about your actions today, so that your results tomorrow are not left to chance. Too many people live passively, waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, or some outside force to push them toward their goals. But the truth is, your future is shaped by what you consistently do right now. The small, seemingly insignificant decisions you make today, how you spend your time, how you talk to yourself, what you prioritize, are quietly sculpting your future self. Acting as if you already have what you want is not just about mindset or posture. It's about responsibility. It's about deciding with seriousness and clarity that you will no longer live as a victim of circumstance. You are the architect now. And architects don't wait for a building to appear. They plan, they draw, they measure, and then they build. They take ownership of the vision long before the foundation is even poured. You must do the same with your life. Let's say you want to be successful in your career, whatever that means to you. Maybe it's launching a business, getting promoted, or becoming a top performer in your industry. That future version of you doesn't arrive because you stumbled into it. It shows up because you began making decisions that aligned with it. You studied when no one else was watching. You stayed up late refining your skills. You showed up early. You asked questions. You networked. You prepared. Those daily habits and acts of discipline, when no one is clapping, when no one is paying attention, are how you earn the future you say you want. The responsibility lies in understanding that your habits are not neutral. Every day, they're either pulling you closer to your goal or pushing you further away from it. There's no standing still. If you spend your days scrolling endlessly, procrastinating, and avoiding growth, You're still making a decision, just not one that serves your future. On the other hand, if you choose to act like someone who values their time, their mind, and their mission, then you are actively participating in the creation of your future. That's ownership. That's maturity. That's power. And here's what's remarkable. The moment you begin to live with that kind of responsibility, the world begins to respond to you differently. Opportunities appear, not because they magically existed, but because now you're ready for them. People start to take you more seriously, not because you're lucky, but because you've raised your standards. Most importantly, you start to take yourself more seriously. You begin to believe in your ability to steer the ship instead of being tossed around by the wind. But it takes courage. Responsibility isn't always easy. It means acknowledging where you've been lazy, distracted, or unfocused. It means being honest with yourself about the gap between where you are and where you want to be. But here's the beautiful part. You don't have to close that gap overnight. You just have to begin. And every day you choose to act with purpose, that gap shrinks. Start asking yourself better questions. What does my future self do daily? How does that person spend their morning? How do they handle setbacks? How do they talk to others? How do they take care of their body and mind? Then take one of those answers and live it today. Don't wait until you feel ready. Readiness is a myth. Responsibility is the truth. You become ready by doing. When you begin to take responsibility for your future before it arrives, you send a clear message to yourself and to the world. I'm not waiting for success. I'm preparing for it. That preparation shapes your behavior, your mindset, your relationships, and your decisions. It puts you on a path where the future you want isn't some distant hope, but a natural result of the life you're building now. Every day becomes a step forward. Every action becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. That's how transformation happens. Not in one giant leap, but in 1,000 daily choices to live with discipline, with vision, and with ownership. You are responsible for your life, your growth, your future. And when you take that responsibility seriously, everything begins to change. Not instantly, but inevitably. The people we surround ourselves with have an extraordinary impact on who we become. Whether we realize it or not, our habits, our mindset, even our standards, are influenced by those in our environment. If you want to become the kind of person who lives with purpose, confidence, and success, then you must be deliberate about the company you keep. You must choose to be around people who challenge you, inspire you, and stretch your vision of what's possible. Acting as if you already have what you want includes evaluating your environment and asking, would this be part of the life I'm building? We often underestimate the subtle power of proximity. Spend time with people who constantly complain, and you'll find yourself doing the same. Surround yourself with people who make excuses, and soon your standards begin to drop. On the other hand, when you're around people who push limits, set goals, and follow through, it creates a different energy. You start to think bigger. You raise your standard. You begin to believe more is possible. Not just because you read it in a book, but because you see it modeled in front of you. This is why your environment must reflect your vision. If you want to be a leader, spend time around leaders. If you want to build wealth, learn from people who have managed money wisely. If you want to be healthy and fit, surround yourself with people who prioritize wellness. It doesn't mean you need to cut off everyone who doesn't fit that mold, but it does mean you have to be mindful. The dominant voices in your life should be those who remind you of where you're going, not those who keep you anchored to where you've been. Think about it like this. When you act as if you already have the life you want, you're not just pretending. You're setting up your world to support that vision, and that includes relationships. Start asking yourself, would this conversation, this influence, this circle be a part of the life I say I'm creating? If the answer is no, then it's time to make adjustment. It's time to seek out mentors, join communities that reflect your aspirations, and create an environment that pulls you forward instead of holding you back. And it's not just about what others bring to you. it's also about what you bring to them. If you want to be seen as valuable, be valuable. If you want to be respected, give respect. If you want to be in the room where people talk about ideas, not drama, then be the kind of person who brings ideas, solutions, and positive energy. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your environment. And if you want to raise your life, you must raise your circle. Sometimes this means outgrowing people, and that's hard. It feels uncomfortable to realize that certain friendships or connections were only meant for a season. But part of becoming who you're meant to be is recognizing when the season has changed. You can still be kind, you can still love people, but you don't have to stay in the same dynamic. Growth requires space, and sometimes that means stepping away from familiar but limiting environments, so you can step into new empowering ones. The beauty of this is that when you start living as if you already have what you want, you naturally begin to attract people who live at that level. You don't have to chase them. They find you because you're operating with similar values, energy, and intention. Like attracts like. And when your environment becomes a mirror of your aspirations, you gain momentum. You stop doubting your path because you're no longer walking it alone. You're surrounded by others who are growing too, and that mutual progress fuels you. So take inventory. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? What kind of conversations are you having regularly? Do these people speak life into your goals? Or do they quietly drain your ambition? Your future depends on your environment, just as much as your actions. Create a space that supports your dreams. Choose company that reflects your values. Act as if you belong among the best. Because when you do, you start to become your best. Not someday, but starting today. The idea of becoming your future self now is more than just a mental exercise. It's a way of life. It means that you don't wait for success, happiness, wealth, or confidence to arrive in some distant future. You bring them into the present through your actions, decisions, and mindset. Instead of saying, once I get the job, I'll be confident, or when I lose the weight, I'll be happy. You reverse the equation. You ask, how would my future self behave today? And then you act from that place. That's how you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Not by waiting, but by becoming. This requires imagination. Yes, but more than that, it requires courage and commitment. You have to be willing to let go of your old identity, the one tied to your fears, limitations, and past experiences, and step into the version of you that's ready for more. That doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you choose to influence reality through your behavior. You make your current life reflect the one you're creating, even if only in small ways at first, because those small choices are the building blocks of your next level. Start by asking yourself, what does my future self do daily? How do they carry themselves? What do they say no to? What do they spend their time on? What kind of people are they surrounded by? What kind of boundaries do they have? These aren't just questions to reflect on. They're questions to act on. You start by taking a single step. If your future self is fit and healthy, you make a healthy meal or go for a walk today. If your future self is a successful entrepreneur, you carve out time to plan, learn, or build. You don't wait until you feel ready. You move as if you already are. What's powerful is that when you begin to act like your future self, you start building new habits and patterns. Your brain begins to adapt to this new version of you. The unfamiliar becomes familiar. The difficult becomes manageable. At first it feels strange, like wearing shoes that don't quite fit. But the more you walk in them, the more they mold to your steps. That's how identity shifts happen. Not by wishing, but by walking. Becoming your future self now is also a mindset of responsibility. It says, I am not a victim of my past. I am the author of my future. That means you no longer make decisions based on who you've been. You make them based on who you're becoming. You say no to old habits, not because you're forcing discipline, but because they no longer fit the person you are stepping into. You show up early, not because someone told you to, but because that's what the successful version of you does. You treat people well, not because you're trying to impress, but because kindness and integrity are part of your values now. It's important to realize this isn't about perfection. You will make mistakes. You'll fall into old patterns sometimes. That's part of the process. The key is to keep returning to your future self. Ask yourself, what would they do right now? And use that as your compass. Over time, those small course corrections add up. They compound. And one day, you look around and realize you're not just acting like your future self. You've become them. This mindset also changes how you handle setbacks. When you think like your future self, you don't let failure define you. You use it. You say, this is part of the journey. What can I learn here? You stop needing everything to be perfect before you take action. You trust that growth is messy, and you show up anyway, because you know the future isn't created in one grand moment. It's created in 1,000 quiet decisions that most people don't even see. The truth is, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. If you want a future filled with growth, joy, success, and meaning, you have to become the kind of person who aligns with those things. That doesn't mean waiting until life hands you those outcomes. It means building the character, habits, and mindset that naturally lead to them. You don't get what you dream about. You get what you consistently prepare for. So take a moment to visualize your future self, not just how they look or what they have, but how they live. Then ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do today to act from that place? And then do it. Don't wait until it feels easy. Don't wait for permission. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't crossed by hoping. It's crossed by becoming. Step by step, thought by thought, action by action. The future you dream of isn't waiting. It's ready for you to show up. Not someday,